Hello and blessings to you. What happens when you die, or what's going to happen when you die? Allow me to paint a picture of what you are going to encounter. Now, when a redeemed soul draws its final breath, a gentle luminescence gathers, filling the room, as though the walls have grown thin and the light of another world is pressing through. There's going to be a warmth that begins in the chest and it just spreads outward, a state of perfect temperature. The dying believer feels no dread, but a profound loosening, a untying of every earthly knot. Pain is replaced with comfort and a overcoming loving peace that defies description, as though every sorrow ever carried has been lifted from the heart. And then the angels come descending openly from above. These are ministers of mercy, radiant beings whose forms are too bright for the flesh to behold, yet the eyes of the soul can bear them. Their faces serene and awesome in their beauty. Their eyes hold no accusation, only a welcome look. Wings of living light unfurl, not for show, but to carry our spirit from our flesh. Their voices, a harmony that resonates in the bones like music. The redeemed soul does not want to return to the body. It rises willingly, eagerly, as though it has always longed to be free of the body of clay. Tender hands, strong yet gentle, reach out and draw the soul out of the body and upwards. The separation from the body is a release. Detaching from the physical form is a blessed ascension, like incense smoke rising. The discarded flesh lies still. The face, an expression of wonder, lips parted in mid-praise, eyes fixed on something unseen and unspeakably lovely. And the ascent begins. The ceiling dissolves into boundless light, and the soul is drawn upward through realms of increasing splendor. The wind that meets is a rushing sweetness, carrying fragrances no earthly garden ever knew. Joining the chorus are familiar voices, singing a welcome that pierces the heart with joy too deep for tears. Colors that's never been seen before stream past. Distance collapse into nearness. Time itself seems to bow in praise of our Creator. Do you have the testimony of Yeshua HaMashiach, and do you keep the Torah of Yahweh? If so, this is the ending you're going to find, not dead in a grave, no wondering if you have judgment of life or death coming, but rising to our King's glorious throne. How about the death of an atheist, a Satanist, false religions, those who follow a lawless Jesus? Oh, Here we have a whole different ending. And I use the deathbeds of unbelievers as a partial source for what I'm about to share with you. So let's look into the abyss that awaits the godless man at the hour of his demise. I'm not speaking fairy tales or myths, but of the raw, unrelenting truth that claws at the edges of our mortality. Imagine a man who has lived his life in defiance of the divine, scoffing at the heavens and anyone who has faith, indulging in the flesh without remorse, his soul a barren wasteland devoid of light or redemption. He is the architect of his own emptiness, indoctrinated with science and biology that has become his God. And when the final breath escapes his lips, oh, that's when the terror of unbelief unfolds. It begins difficult to describe in the dimming haze of consciousness. The godless man lies there, his body a failing vessel, heart stuttering and straining. Oh, he'll feel a chill at first, not the ordinary cold of a draft, but a profound, bone-deep frost that seeps from within as if his very blood is turning to ice. The room around him warps, shadows unnaturally lengthen, pulling in the corners like spilled ink, whispering secrets he never wanted revealed. His visions blurs, but in that blur, shapes emerge, indistinct at first, mere flickers at the outer edges like rats moving quickly in the walls of his mind. Oh, my friends, these are no hallucinations, no merciful tricks of a dying brain. They are the legions of the underworld, the dark spirits that have waited patiently, drawn by the scent of an unclean spirit. These come from the pits of eternal torment. These entities are grotesque nightmares, twisted limbs that end in jagged talons, faces that shift like smoke, displaying the life of the dying man, mocking him to his face of every sin he's committed. Their eyes glow with a sickly luminescence that reflects back the man's own depravity. They don't rush, no. They savor the approach, circling the bed like vultures over decaying flesh. Their presence announced by a low, harsh-sounding throat hum that vibrates in his chest, mimicking the rattle of death. As the moment cresses, the godless man senses his essence loosening, the fragile tether between the body and soul snapping like rotten threads. Panic surges, but it's too late. Always too late. He'll grasp and claw at the air, but his limbs too heavy, pinned by an invisible weight. And that's when they strike. The spirits converge in a frenzy, their forms solidifying into something having a vile body. Claws sink into his form, not the flesh, but the soul itself, ripping, tearing with a sound like fabric being shredded by thorns. Oh, my friends, the pain's intense beyond the physical. A burning agony that scorches every regret, every forsaken chance at grace. He feels his soul wrenched free, yanked from the husk of his body with brutal force, leaving behind a corpse that stares blankly at the ceiling, mouth wide open in silent scream. The spirits drag him downward, not through the floor, but into a yawning chasm that opens beneath a portal to the underbelly of existence, where gravity is evil and descent is eternal. Down, down they plunge, the godless soul thrashing in their grip, assaulted by winds that howl with the cries of the damned. The air thickens with sulfur and despair. Glimpses flash by. Rivers of fire, chains that bind the wicked, grotesque figures twisting in perpetual torment. And the spirits laugh in a multitude of harsh, rasping voices that mock his pleas, his bargains, his futile cries for mercy. You chose this, though. Their breath foul with the rot of forgotten souls. You built this throne in emptiness, and now you reap the harvest. And so the godless man arrives on the bad side of the gulf that divides Elohim's children and the adversary's children. They're not there as a visitor, but as a personal possession, his soul filleted in the forges of damnation. Condemned to an eternity of anguish, where time stretches like taffy and every second is a fresh wound. Let this be a warning, my friends. In the silence of your own end, what spirits will come for you? Will they bear wings of light? Or shadows with claws? Reflect on this while you can still draw a breath. Because once in that void, it does not forgive.